think I didn't put any lipstick on.
Oh, you look great.
Welcome to 1800 Sanford Avenue. Come on in. At 1800 Sanford Avenue, this house was built in 1925. Bob and Janice and Pete and Chip Gregory moved here in 1969, and it's been the Gregory home since then, almost 50 years. When we moved here, the living room, the dining room, the stairwell were all covered in royal blue plush carpet. It was bright, but it was our home, and it didn't love it at first, but we grew to love it. Susan was born in 1971. We had moved here for Bob to work in his family business, Gregory Lumber. Also in 1971, they decided to open another part of the business, Gregory Mobile Homes. At the same time, in that year, in 1971, Pete, our oldest son, was diagnosed with osteosarcoma, a deadly kind of cancer. My mom and dad, Charles and Blanche Parker, came down here in 1971 and stayed a number of weeks. Behind those French doors right there was a screen room that opened off of the front porch. My dad said to Bob's dad, "If you will furnish the materials, I will close this in and make another room for them. They need more space." So that is what happened. And it was a wonderful, wonderful thing. And that room has been a lot of different things over the years. And Chip was very young then, but he helped his granddad build that porch. This room is the center of the house, literally, and also because so much happened in here. It's the living room, it was our TV room, it was our playroom. Bob spent a lot of time in here, in that chair over in that corner, and in the chair before that, and every person in the family probably spent time on Bob's lap, either in that chair or the chair before. They're just wonderful stories of Bob in that chair. He loved his spot. He would do Sudoku, the bridge column, he would watch TV, he would sleep, he would sleep, he would sleep. The clock beside the front door was made out of a kit, but made by my dad, and he gave it to us as a surprise gift one Christmas. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful memory. Also have in another room, but that also used to be in front of the clock, Dad's old armchair. That was, before they had recliners, there was an armchair and a footstool. The love seat in front of the beautiful, beautiful stairwell wall was a gift from Bob's mother to us the first year we were married. And when she gave it to us, it was covered with cracked black leather and had all kinds of stuffing coming out of it. She, in a year or two, said, "Are you not going to get that thing covered?" And I said, "It's not in our budget." She said, "Well, it'll be a gift. I'll do it." So it's been a wonderful gift and a wonderful memory. Beside that is that little stool, that little stand. It's another memory of Dad. It was his smoking stand. He smoked a pipe. And that's an old-fashioned kind of thing. In that little stand, he kept his can of pipe tobacco in his pipes. This beautiful carpet on the floor was my mom's. She had it in her retirement home. And I admired it, and she looked at me when I admired it, and she said, "Your sister Stella gets first choice." I said, "Okay." Then after Mom died, and we were taking turns sorting out Mom's things, my sister Stella said to me, "Janice, I patched up the rug 3 times. It'll suit your house. Go for it." So I did, and it's here. This is another very important room in the house. It's a beautiful, great big dining room, and we have a big table, and we've had lots and lots of family celebrations in here. Birthdays, anniversaries, just family gatherings for Christmas, and lots of other people have been here from out of town. It's a wonderful place. The dining set, the china cabinet, the table and chairs, and this buffet were Bob's mother's, so it's been fun to use that. Bob bought me this rug as a special treat when we were in the mountains one time, and it was just a very special gift from Bob. The secretary over here I bought at an antique auction in Longwood, just loved antiques. The pretty blue and white teapot and cup and saucer came from a mission trip to Russia. They were bought in a China factory in St. Petersburg, Russia. When we moved here, as I said, the house was built in 25. We moved in 69. Bob thinks there was a remodel in the 40s. So when we moved in here, we think we had kind of a 40s kitchen. It was usable, but it had linoleum on the floor. It had a wall oven there. It was a mess. And so in 2012, I asked Bob if I could do a little remodel, maybe a new backsplash, and he said yes. Well, long story short, we ended up redoing the whole kitchen, going down to the studs. Up the ceiling, the walls, and the floor, I chipped up 3 layers of linoleum, not to the studs, but till we uncovered this old heart pine floor. I hated to lose the old kitchen cabinets. So because of that, Bob took down some of the old cabinets that were in here. And my wonderful backdoor neighbor made a bookcase out of those old kitchen cabinets. I was on my way to Lowe's and Oviedo to sign the contract for cabinets and flooring, not flooring, cabinets and appliances and paint and all of that. And I said, Lord, this is going to be expensive. Should we really be doing this? And I didn't hear a voice, but I felt very clearly that we should. So after Bob had taken down the cabinets and the crew came in to pull everything else down, they broke a water pipe that was in this wall that went to the upstairs bathroom, and it very definitely needed to be replacing. The pipes, other pipes were almost in this condition. The pipes in the ceiling, there were several pipes in the ceiling almost in this condition. So yes, the Lord was right. We did need to renovate this kitchen, and it's been wonderful. It makes me happy now every time I walk in the back door and see this kitchen. So thank you, Lord. Thank you, Bob. Bob could sleep anytime, anywhere. He was comfortable sleeping anywhere. I think one reason Bob had no trouble sleeping is because he was always truthful. He didn't have things to worry about because he always told the truth. He said, if you don't always tell the truth, you don't have to worry about what you said. You don't have to worry about what you remember. But he was also had very good manners. And sometimes if he was sleeping on his back and started snoring, I would roll him over to his side and he would say, thank you. This former screen porch has been a lot of different things. In the very beginning, when Dad and Bob's dad had it closed in for us, there were windows all the way around here and even here. There was a door that went out to the backyard there. There was some old paneling where there wasn't windows. There was green shag carpet. There was a gold vinyl couch. There was a TV. There was a train set down there once that was chips. And then over the years, it gradually changed as we had made other modifications to the house. And then when we closed our business in 1989 or 1990, we moved, this became an office. And in this space, there were 2 more desks, there were 4 more file cabinets, there were 2 more bookcases, there were card tables stacked with paper. Bob didn't throw anything away. I called it the black hole, and I didn't like anybody to see it. 2013, there was a roof leak. And before Bob died in 2014, he had contracted with a roofer. But he had not scheduled anything, so I had to schedule it because water was coming in and the ceiling over top of this one was falling down. Long story short, we ended up going down to the studs in this room also. There had been water damage and leaking all the way around the perimeter of the room. This is the original porch ceiling that I didn't want covered up again. The original chimney I didn't want covered up again. Everything that was in here had to come out, so I just redid the whole room, and I love it now. It's not the black hole anymore. This is my library. This is my office. And that is my workout room down there in Bob's memory corner. Bob loved sports and he loved coaching. There are a few of the plaques that he received over the years, before I knew him and after I knew him, that he received. There were many, many more trophies that are gone now. But he loved sports. He would rather play, first of all. If he couldn't play, he'd rather coach. If he couldn't coach, he'd like to watch. If he'd like to watch, he'd rather watch high school. If he couldn't watch high school, he liked college, and then professional was on the list also, but at the very bottom. Part of Bob's history before I knew him, he was in the Army during the Vietnam years. The last years of his life, he spent as a chaplain, full-time chaplain at the Seminole County Jail. He loved his work there also. The plaque up there, tennis is not a matter of life and death. It's much more important than that. When he played to win. He loved it. In fact, he was playing tennis with some good friends the night before he died. He just liked being active, unless he was napping in his chair. This artwork was done by our oldest son, Pete, who died in '74 at the age of 11. This was done before we moved here, but he did that when he was about 4 years old, and I've just always liked it, and it's a special memory also. Pete was getting weaker in his illness, and he said to me one time, "Mom, I'm a lot of trouble, aren't I?" I said, "Pete, don't you worry about that. There's so many people that love you and want to help you. Don't ever worry about that." And he said, "Yes, but it'll be better when I get to heaven." He was only 11, but we had talked to him very honestly about his illness, and we talked about heaven. And he had a beautiful childlike faith. So when he said, "It'll be better when I get to heaven," I knew he understood, at least as a child could. And I said, "Yes, but we would miss you terribly, Pete." I said, "But I love to think about you having 2 good lungs." He had had a lung removed, and he had a leg amputated, and turning cartwheels all over heaven. He said, "I think I'd rather be playing jump sticks," which is the high jump game where you raise the bar and have to jump higher and higher. While we were having the conversation, Bob had come into the doorway and he'd heard it. Now, a back part of the story is, Bob loved games. Bob wanted his kids to play games. He loved checkers. He wanted Pete and Chip to love checkers. He'd been working on teaching them to play checkers, and they didn't like it because he wouldn't let them win. He wanted them to think through it themselves. So Bob came into the room as Pete and I were talking about heaven, and Bob said to Pete, "If you get to heaven before I do, Pete, you better have the checkerboard set up." And Pete said, "Pop, if I have to play checkers with you, it won't be heaven." Isn't that fun?
That's so sweet.
That is a picture of Bob's faith and Pete's faith, and the joy and the fun that can be had in any part of life. In early years, for their stories, there was a window. So in the year 2000, Bob had wanted to add a large room on to be used for family gatherings, for jail ministry board meetings, for sleepovers, just for whatever. There was a need for a large space like this, and it's been wonderful. It has been used for all of those things. We had a family from Poland that slept in here for a month. We've had relatives. We've had Christmas gatherings in here. It's been my sewing room. I've done a lot of quilting in here. This chair, Bob's grandfather bought when Bob was born, and he bought this chair to rock Bob in it. It has some wonderful memories also. This is my dad's old Army footlocker from World War II. This buffet is another gift from Bob's mom. She lived in DeLand. She loved shopping estate sales, garage sales, etc. She gave this to us also, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful thing with lots of storage in it. The hat stand here belonged to Bob's grandmother. Beautiful piece. This is what my neighbor made out of the old kitchen cabinets that Bob took down. When board meetings or prayer meetings or other things were going on, They would come in and out this door. I love the steps, our two-story home, and I love the steps uncovered from the blue carpet. Although we had a nephew who lived with us for a short while, he said he didn't like bare steps because he couldn't sneak in and out. This bedroom is the smallest of the 3 bedrooms upstairs. It has had a lot of different people and a lot of different beds in it. At the beginning, Pete and Chip had bunk beds in here. And then there was a double bed in here. And now that for a good while there's been an extra long twin bed in here. But before that, for a while, it was a sewing room. So it's been a lot of different things, a small space, but it's been very, very useful. And a lot of people, different people have lived here. Missionaries have stayed here. People have lived here for a few months or a few years. It's been great. On the wall behind you is a quilt I bought on a flea market in Moscow. We had friends when we were on staff with Campers Crusade for some years. And we had friends who traveled a lot with Josh McDowell doing mission trips, and they wanted us to go with them, and they talked to us about several years. And I wanted to go. Bob wasn't sure about it. Bob liked to use a legal pad to make decisions. He had a pro list and a con list. So he did this for the mission trip. On the con list, he said, it'd be in January, it'd be too cold, it's too far, it would cost too much money, I wouldn't like the food, I would miss the Super Bowl. On the pro list, he didn't have anything listed, but he said, since I'm a Christian, I'll pray about it and ask God. So he told me later, he said, I was praying about this, and the Lord said to Bob, I left the glories of heaven to die a torturous death on the cross so you could experience my love and forgiveness. And you don't want to go to Russia because you don't like the food. So Bob told me that story, and then he said, I guess we're going. And we actually ended up going twice. This is a fairly large bathroom for an old house. And it too had old things in it until probably 10 or 12 years ago. As I said, Bob loves sports. Sanford has a baseball team, college baseball team called the River Rats. Bob wanted to invite baseball players to live with us in the summer while they played baseball. I said, not unless we get something done about that old bathroom. So that was Bob's motivation to let me get something done in the bathroom. This is the second largest bedroom upstairs. It's been a guest room. It's also been Chip's room. It's also been Susan's room. It's also been people that have lived here. Right now it has in it the bed Bob's mother was born in. We call it the Bradley bed. It's very, very old, and the antique dresser that goes with it. When the house was built, each bedroom apparently had a sink with a light over it. I guess that took care of maybe having only one bathroom in the house and several children. I think Bob was so secure in God's love for him, it made him able just to be Bob. He didn't have to pretend to be anybody else. He wasn't impressed with people. He didn't care a lot about what people thought of him. He was a non-drinker, but when he was in, I don't know, his college or the Army, he invited to go to all the parties because he was fun, liked to have fun. One of his buddies told him one time, Bob, you have more fun sober than we have drinking. Bob just enjoyed life. He enjoyed sharing God's love. He enjoyed food. He enjoyed his grandchildren. He loved his family. And when he prayed, almost every time, the first thing he would say is, thank you, God, for your love. One of the things I miss after our children were gone, it was just Bob and me in the house, and Bob was working at the jail. He wasn't home every night. But when he was home for dinner, I would call him to the kitchen, because that's where we ate. He would come to the kitchen. We would put our arms around each other, and he would pray. And I miss that. Still. This is the largest. This is the master bedroom. And this room has seen a lot of different arrangements. At one time when we started in this room, Bob and I had an old full-size bed with the headboard, footboard, sideboards, slats under the mattress. One night, the bed was over there against that wall. I was sitting up reading. Bob came in through this door and he said, "Oh, watch this." And he came across the room and did a flip over me and landed on the bed. When his 200 pounds hit the bed came up in the air and everything fell apart. Everything hit the floor. That's a fun memory. This cedar chest was made for me when I was born by one of my dad's brothers. The chair there, the brown chair and the footstool, that was Dad's. It's moved around from room to room also. There's also been a king-size bed in here. Right now it's a queen. The bed has been on that wall, the bed has been in front of these windows, the bed has been in front of that windows. Another Bob story, and I think it was with that same bed. I was downstairs in the dining room sewing before we had the extra rooms. The dining room light was swinging and there was horrible, noisy, loud stuff coming from upstairs. I came storming up the steps to scold Pete and Chip. Bob was picking them up one at a time and throwing them onto the bed. They were all laughing and loving it. So that's another fun memory.
Did you scold them?
Probably did scold them. I've always said the Lord knew for a long time I needed someone to lighten up my life, and that was Bob. He liked to make people laugh. He liked to make people smile. After Bob died, I was complaining to the Lord about missing Bob and what a good man he was. And then I said, he wasn't perfect. Sometimes I wanted a warrior defender, and Bob was a teddy bear. And sometimes in front of the TV, I would have to say, "Bob, look at me." And the Lord said to me, all of the things Bob was not and could not be for you, I am. I am your warrior defender. My eyes are always on you. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's very good.
And then a few days later, when I was talking to the Lord again, and he said, all the things you cannot be for yourself, I am. Another family gathering, what it's all about.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday, dear Grandma, Mom, everybody else. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.